Hi everyone. Today we're going to show you an updated version of a demo on how to build your own application using Google AI Studio. Just to give you a brief background, Google AI Studio is a web-based unified AI playground and full-stack development environment. It is designed to let developers and creators rapidly prototype, test, and build generative AI applications using Google's latest AI models. Recently, it has evolved from a simple prompt testing sandbox into a highly capable integrated development environment or IDE that can build both front-end user interface and back-end architecture. Some of its core features are unified multi-model playground like a single centralized workspace where you can experiment with text, image, audio, and video models seamlessly, and also full stack build mode, which you can build functional full stack applications simply by using natural language prompts. Later, I'm going to show you how to do it. It also handles both the client-side UI and the server logic with built-in server-side runtime and NPM background support. Now, also it has Firebase and cloud integrations. The platform can automatically provision and set up Firebase for persistent database storage. Let's say the Firestore and authentication like Google Sign In. Once an app is ready, you can push it live with one-click deployment to Google Cloud Run. Okay, so this is Google AI Studio. So we're not going to. There are a lot of features, are very useful features within Google AI Studio. But right now, we're going to actually show you how to build your own application using natural language. Okay, so this is the option where you can actually upload the file or a knowledge. Let's say, for example, if you're like building a specific complex architecture of a certain application, then I would highly recommend to use a technical documentation for planning. But for demo purposes, I'm going to use this sample instruction. So this sample prompt instruction is optimized by the Create framework, which includes character, request, examples, adjustments, types of output, and evaluation. So as we can see, the character is actually the persona where you act as a senior brand strategist and creative director working in a conviction led agency. You specialize in transforming human truth into powerful campaign ideas that drive emotional resonance, cultural relevance, and measurable business outcomes. The request is to build an AI powered campaign and pitch generator that converts a raw client brief into a complete strategic and creative output. So it includes the system, like it should have like the feature to analyze the input brief, brand, audience, challenge objectives, and then which also showing us the examples like for example, it says here insights to human truth about the audience, and then adjustments like the tone, it should be strategic, human, insightful, culturally aware, and so on and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this prompt instruction, and then I'm going to let Google AI Studio build the application for me. So as we can see, there are two panels. So the panel is where the agent mode is. This is where you can ask a question and then you can also prompt in your request or upload, for example, if you have like an image or let's say an additional file to upgrade your application, you can do it. And then this is where the preview is. And this is also where the code is as well. So you can see all the files like metadata.json and then also the scripts, the code base, and then this is where your the design is. So it's saying here that it's actually suggesting like a preview of design. So you have the option to select this design or to skip it. And you also have the option to choose. It will give you like the options, like the recommendations. I think I like this one, so I would probably choose or select this design. Okay, so it's actually showing us how to um, what's currently building right now. It's showing us the files. And it's saying here, you have the option to publish this to GitHub. When your prototype is ready for a full deployment environment, you have the option to publish the entire code base to a new GitHub repository with a single click. So it's just telling us some of the features of Google AI Studio that it has integration with GitHub. Let's say you wanted to, let's say, export or let's say deploy this on a different environment, you can actually just transfer your code base and files to GitHub. Okay, so it's saying here that it's currently working on the request. So you have the option to collapse this so you can see what's working on right now. Let's say it's actually generating the files. It's telling us the thought process. And then it's saying here the brand conviction AI campaign and pitch generation has been successfully built and deployed. So telling us the summary of the accomplishments like the UI UX strategy, the AI integration. So basically, it's using Gemini by default because, of course, Google AI Studio is powered by Gemini. And then core functionalities like the system that which allows dynamic input into brand details like the name, audience, objective, and then system hardening, which enforces strict formatting. And then this is what we can see right now. You can see the actual preview. Okay. And then in order for you to publish this, one thing that you have to keep in mind is you must make sure that your Google AI Studio account is connected to a Google Cloud account. And please do note that token consumptions and API costs are actually billed. So eventually there's going to be a cost involved in building your projects. So if you click this, it will actually ask you to, let's say, you can see the owner, and it will ask you, let's say, if you wanted to restrict this application, let's say you just wanted to, of specific users can access this, or if you want anyone who can access this. And then you can also see the secrets, which is these are the API keys. Please note that these API keys are similar to your credit card accounts. So you don't just give it out to anyone or you do not expose this. Otherwise, if someone gets a hold of your API keys, most likely they're going to use it and spend it. So most likely you don't want that to happen. Okay, and then you can also see the versions, and then you can also see the integrations, and then GitHub as well. You can also sync it to GitHub. And then currently I'm using the free tier request. So I'm going to actually, let's see, I'm going to show you, let me show you how to share this. So copy the link. So if you wanted to make it in public or invite a specific people, it's up to you. So what we're going to do next is we're going to test this. Let's say, for example, brand name. Let's think of a brand. Let's see, LinkedIn. Let's say target audience, key decision makers. So our core challenge is, let's say, key decision makers are more into a high level and a let's say surf high level and surface level context. So let's say the main objective is, let's say, to pitch the idea where um, key decision makers can opt to push AI into their um, let's say workplace through an immersive AI education. Or let's say, think of it like, oops, sorry, I accidentally, okay, so pitch the idea. Okay, so let's say, this is just for test purposes. So it's saying here, error generating campaign, please wait. Okay, so what you can do is, you can actually, um, let's say, screenshot this and let's say I am getting this error. Can you review the code base and fix this? And then there's an option to, let's say, export pitch or refine strategy. So Google AI Studio is currently working on finding out if there's what the problem is within the backend, like the code base, if there's like an error. So that's some of the things that you're going to encounter whenever you're, let's say, you're trying to, like, let's say, build something with AI. So you have to keep in mind that this is something that is not a one-shot thing. You have to also um, like set your expectation that, or establish your expectation that there's always going to be a hiccup or an error. So all you have to do is to fully understand what the problem is and how to troubleshoot and diagnose it. Okay, and then let's see your let's take another brand. Let's say the brand name is Willyonaryo, and let's say the target audience is Filipino masses. So let's say the core challenge is only a few audience watch the the show in mainstream media. How to convince which results into a like a low rating. How to convince, let's say, um, users to watch Willionario in a mainstream media instead of YouTube or Facebook Live. So let's say let's generate a campaign. Okay, so it's saying there's an error again, but it's saying here that the error you encountered during the campaign generation typically relates to Gemini API key. Okay, so let's say we wanted to inspect. So this is one of the methods that usually developers do. Let's say if there's an error. So what you can do is like you can screenshot this. Make sure that to actually expand this. So to ensure that Google AI Studio has more context with the error. Okay, I did an inspect element and I am seeing these errors. Can you further investigate this and fix the for issue with the same error? So there you go. And then what's next is let's go ahead and wait what's going to happen. So again, if you wanted to like further diagnose something, all you have to do is depending on what you're using, whether you're Windows or Mac, either you can right click, then make sure that inspect shows. Usually it's inspect element, but this time it's inspect on Mac. And then make sure to that you're on the console. But let me just okay, so make sure that you see the console there. This is where you click. And then all you have to do is to ask Google AI Studio to have this invested. It says here 404 API error occurred because the Gemini model was not being correctly resolved, likely due to missing models, prefix name. So it says here, please try generating a campaign again. So most likely try to fix this. So let's go ahead and refresh this. So again, so let's try Willyonaryo and then target audience, Filipino masses. So let's say the core challenge is um, few people are watching the show because they find it boring and same format for the last 20 years. Okay, how can we convince people to watch Willionario? And then let's try to click generate campaign. Okay, so it's showing the error again. So let's, okay, we are experiencing the same error. Okay, so I think I noticed an error, so let's try it again. Okay, there you go. So let's capture this. If you see this one, right? Okay, so drag the image and then let's do inspect element again. Okay, so if you're not seeing the console, then you should see it. Okay, before you do that, let's try again. So let's say test. Let's say Willionario Filipino. And then few people are watching the show because they find it boring. And then how to convince boring as the show has the same format for the last 20 years. How to convince people to watch the show again. Then generate campaign. Okay, so we're getting the same error plus the fact that let's include the buttons are not working. Okay, so let me make sure that we are using inspect element. So console, there you go. If you don't see the console, make sure that you see this. You click this and then click console. Make sure to expand these arrows because it's very important that Gemini sees these errors so that it can easily fix the issue. Okay, so um, same error plus the buttons are not working. And then let's screenshot this again. So to make sure that Gemini has all the context how to, oops, sorry, how to fix the error. So I think this is one thing, some of the things that we need to learn is um, basically it's not a one-shot thing that when we create something, it's perfect. So there's always a hiccup. So what's important is we understand what the problem is and how we can fix this. But gladly, there's already AI that can help us. We also did an inspect element again at the console. Can you fix this? Okay, so right now it says here assessing skill limitations. It's trying to edit the files. Okay, so it's saying here I have resolved the issue updating the campaign generation service adhere strict with Google Gen AI TypeScript SDK guidelines. So changes made says here API call patterns, model selection, and then button responsiveness. So it's now using the Gemini 3 Flash preview instead of the Gemini 1.5 Flash. Apparently, what happened here is Gemini tried to use a 1.5 Flash, which is already deprecated, or which means that it no longer exists. So let's try to refresh this and try it again, and hopefully this works. So let's say um, let's make it let's make the same example. So Filipino audience, core challenge, people find Willyonaryo boring due to the same content and format for the last 30 years. I'm sorry, 20 years. So let's say how to convince more people to watch Willyonaryo. So let's try it again. Okay, it says here generative strategizing, so it's going to take a little bit longer. Okay, there you go. It's already fixed. So it's giving us like a strategic campaign pitch. Willyonaryo Reborn. Willyonaryo 20-year legacy game show is facing predictability crisis while Toast's brand equity. Stagnant format has turned into a background noise for Filipino household. The objective is to transform Millionaire from a boring legacy show into a must-watch cultural event by injecting high-stakes modern interactivity and unpredictable storytelling. So it already gave us like, for example, like the executional ideas like Millionaire Extreme, Chaos Cut. And then the next thing that we're going to do, let's say if you wanted to refine strategy or export pitch. Now, it's already working. The problem is this button is not working. So this time the export, pitch, and refine strategy is not working. Can you review and fix? Okay, so first step is we were able to fix the issue with generate campaign. So you imagine, let's say, for example, the hook, the montage of the world 2004 versus 2024. So the world changed. Did Willyonaryo? It says here, brutal truth. Boring is the brand silent killer. Okay, so if you notice, it actually refreshed. It says here export pitch. Hopefully this works. So let's just to make sure, let's refresh this again. Okay, so let's refresh this again. Let's say Willyonaryo, target Filipino household. A few people watch this because of the same boring format for the last 20 years. How to how to convince people to watch this show again. So let's click this generative strategizing insight. Okay, so it did generate this again, which means that it's working as expected. So let's try, let's say, refine strategy. So when you click refine strategy, it's generating strategize again. So the expectation here is if you're not like satisfied with the content, it should regenerate. Okay, so it actually regenerated. And then if you're satisfied, you can just export pitch. Okay, so this time, refine strategy is working, but export pitch is not working. Okay, so let's just wait. Okay, so it actually did generate it again. So the next issue is export pitch is not working. Can you invest investigate the value and impact of this feature and fix this as it is not working? Sometimes there are things that you want to reconsider. Let's say, for example, you might encounter like Google AI Studio adding some features that may not add value. So what you can do, you can just screenshot it and ask Google AI Studio to remove that feature. If you think that that specific feature, let's say a specific button or a drop-down list does not add value or it does not serve a purpose at all. Okay, so it says here export pitch feature has been updated. Instead of a placeholder alert, it now creates a downloadable Markdown MD file containing your generated campaign. So let's see. So the expectation is um, once a user is already satisfied with the campaign, um, when they click export pitch, it should download as an MD file. Okay, so Filipino, same thing, same old boring game show format for the past 20 years and very few people are now watching this show. So, how to convince more people, especially the younger generation, to watch this show again? And then let's create the generative strategizing. Okay, so it says here, Willyonaryo is a legacy Philippine game show currently perceived as a relic of the past. And it says here the goal is to recapture the cultural zeitgeist by appealing to Gen Z and millennials' love for gamification, memes, and hustle culture. And then let's try to make sure that the refined strategy is working. Okay, so it changed. So as we noticed, the brief summary has changed. So the next thing is to test if export pitch is now working as expected. Okay, so as we can see, it says here campaign pitch MD. So it's now working as expected. If we go to the file, this is the MD file. Okay, so it means that these three features are all now working as expected, and it's up to you if you wanted to deploy this, share this, or not. Okay, so there are a few key takeaways that we need to remember. Okay, so in Google AI Studio, you can build a lot of stuff. However, second thing is we need to keep in mind that hiccups happen, errors happen, so we need to at least understand how to spot on those errors. Like we just showed you how to do an inspect element, just like this one. So you click inspect and then make sure to click console because there's where you can find the error from the backend. And then you just have to screenshot it and then explicitly tell Google AI Studio exactly what error you're seeing right now and explain how to fix this. And then also, if you think that there's a certain feature that does not serve a purpose or doesn't add value to what you're building, then I would suggest for you to just remove it. Okay, so um, we're going to actually going to show you our YouTube channel. So I would highly suggest for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we can and also make sure to click the bell button so that we can show you more contents. You can also follow us on LinkedIn as well. You all you have to do is to just type Decipher Labs, and then we also have a Facebook page which is also Decipher Labs. You can just uh, click like. Similar with our LinkedIn page, all you have to do is to click follow so that we can provide you more valuable contents. Your support is really much appreciated. And that's all. Thank you so much.